Greater light, greater light, greater light. And for all those who are tuning in, this is Mr. Smith Stream. We in the Matrix, and when Mr. Smith and Neo, what is Mr. Smith and Mr. Anderson, right? Oh, what should we name our stream? Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yeah,
That'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
that'll be a good one.
Yeah, I was born Smith. That's my natural name. It ain't
Yeah,
forced.
that's what it's about, y'all. It's about us being born a Smith. All
Uh,
right, yeah, that's not what the implication is, but we're gonna leave that alone, right?
now I'm saying if we gonna make it Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that means we done travel back and forth through time as on the Smith line over and over again, meeting, and we at that final break. Nothing is a
Okay.
coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. Were we married in the past lives? Do you believe in being married past lives?
Yeah,
You believe that?
yeah, that's possible.
So you do believe in past lives?
Of course.
All right, well, let's get this party started right. I'm gonna let y'all see my face just for a second. 1 second, 1 second. There you go, there you go. All right, bye.
Ooh, I love the glasses. Come on, Tongue, come back. Come back.
That
I
means you
love the
don't be
glasses.
watching my lives now. Cut
I love
that
the glasses.
out.
That's what's
Cause,
up. Come on.
Cause I got the
Come
Bible
on, don't do
open and
that.
I'm gonna
Don't do
be
that.
reading. Okay,
Don't do
wait,
that.
now, wait. Come on now, wait. Y'all want this party started right? My mind is God's
Tell
mind.
her she need to show her face, y'all. She need to be on. She got a very beautiful face. She need to show it. Tell her don't act like that.
My mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. I am always poised, balanced, serene, and calm because I know God has provided the perfect solution to every single one of my needs. You say amen. I say, God, you promise. Some of you say la. Some of you say, I'm shamalama. I say, God, thank you for keeping his promises to me. What do you say? You don't have to agree to that at all. But what do you say, Mr. Smith? Oh, yeah. Emily is in the chat. I've never seen an Emily before. She must be here for you. Say hello to Emily, Mr. Smith.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Emily, as you're in the chat, I don't know if you're going to stay and leave. Are you born again? Do you believe in the Most High? Do you believe in God? Do you believe that He sent His Son and there's a light code within you that will open up and activate in these last days and you don't have to accept the mark of the beast? If so, you in the right place. And if you don't believe, that's okay too. Because there's a place for everybody. Everybody's gonna have to make a choice. Kansas Owens, you in Denver County Jail right now. Wait a minute. Don't get in
Where
trouble.
is Denver? Where is Denver County? Where is that?
It must be in Kansas, huh? I don't know. Wait,
I
Denver in
guess I don't know.
Colorado?
Yeah,
Colorado.
but Denver County. I never heard of Denver County. I heard of Denver, Colorado. Maybe that is Colorado. I don't know.
I don't know. You tell us, Kansas, but you don't want to get in trouble unless you is a correctional officer. Or but you can let this message extend to everybody in the jail if you want to. If you feel it that you don't mind, uh, but don't blame me if they confiscate your phone. Delete this message as soon as you get a chance and opportunity, or leave it in there so that the judges and all can get a taste of what it is to be born again and renewed in the right mind and right spirit and right overstanding. Thank you for joining Kansas. Obviously, they are here for you, Mr. Smith. These are people I've never seen before. That means they are here for you with the shirt off. Yes, sir. Talk to me. What's going on? I'm not gonna control it. I told you you could run this one.
Well, what do you want to talk about? I guess the basic topic would be that our country is at war now, and everyone knows that. right? So how do
Mm.
you feel that how do you think, or what do you think that would affect us? Like what do you think? How do you feel about that? Do you think that it's going to be beneficial for us long term? I mean, being that of course we have to be allies with Israel. Israel is a very big Christians in America. Do you think it's wise that we should be at war with Iran? I mean, we have debt, we have our own issues at home. We have people. We just exited the war probably not less than 30 years ago or 20 years ago, and here and again we were in the same place about the same issues. And I for one believe that it's not such a good idea. I mean, I can understand that there should my opinion is that there should have been at least talks about this first. There should have been some very serious talking going on about all this, but I'm not sure. I mean, we also have to consider the fact that Iran can attack us back. You know how Muslim not I'm not taking nothing from the Muslim faith, don't get me wrong. But they are terrorists there, and they will just bomb in a random place in America, you know, and destroy something. So that's my topic for tonight. I want to know how people, what people are feeling about it. What you feeling about that, Abigail?
All right. There's a couple of points that you touched on that I do want to address. Meaning, again, we had this conversation before they actually supposedly dropped those bombs, where in the realm that I live in my mind, this is wars and rumors of wars. But the wars and rumors of wars match certain points in the scripture that I agree with. And it for me, it's as if the word of God is being fulfilled in perfect order. So for me, it's more of a celebration versus um, worried about the media part of it, because again, these wars are going on and they're saying it's going on. And I think they're doing it based on just the word alone, because the government of the United States did make a statement. The military head said that the greatest weapon that they have right now is the word. The word is the greatest weapon. So, with that in mind, for me, again, they're showing this that the war is happening. They're saying that uh, um, Israel was attacked and all that, but people are still celebrating and having holiday festivities, and people are still getting married, people are still traveling, people are still going on vacations, they're still having baseball games and football games and all these other things in life that still continue. So remember, when we were talking about it this morning, you kind of got a little upset with me because like you were like, well, why are you celebrating, why are you happy, look at what's happening. I don't think it's a good thing. But Iran has always been in war with United States, or
I mean,
Israel.
we haven't
Uh,
ever really been the best of friends. I mean, I can agree with that.
No, but wars have always been going on. And then you said they didn't have a meeting. They should have sat down and talked about it. Those G7 summits, all those summits where they meet with the high councils and all that, this is where they have those meetings. When they went to Notre Dame and Elon cut that ribbon and they're putting their bids for the wars. This is where they put in their bids for the wars. These wars ain't no last minute thing that they just came up with. Just like when that Trump put the South African king on Front Street. They talked about that and discussed that little scene and play and plot right there in Notre Dame when they went and put in their bids for the war. So all this is all played out, but the fact that they're following it in alignment with scripture is what intrigues me. So you mentioned again that they should be, this something that should have been talked about. They've already talked about it. Iran put in their bids. All the countries that are allied together, they put in their bids for the war. This is the war games, is like you said, based on money, based on funneling money. But the main thing to me about these wars is it's a transition into the light world, purchasing your light, um the um the purchasing of your currency, which is only going to be through light. Because I believe this war, what it's going to do is have it where people are stuck in a point where they can't really do physical labor. Everything's going to have to transition over to remote. And that's why they did that test trial that swept the nation with the COVID vaccine. That was a test run to see how many people they could get to be actually remote, and have remote living, remote education, how much funneling of the funds could be where people are actually stuck in a position where they can't leave from home, but the society will still be able, the financial commerce will be able to continue and go. Now, when you make the accept the mark of the beast, or I call it now the mark of the Bezos, or you decide you don't want to be a slave, you don't want to be enslaved again, you don't want to go through this system that has been revolving all these years over and over and over again, you choosing to be released from it. This is where we're at. That's what I see. That's what I see. Alchemos, Alchemos, Alchemos. Now I know Alchemos, Alchemos. Greater light. How are you? Son of Yah, Yahweh. How are you? Greater light. How son is just what he says, son of Yah. Antoine.
Huh?
That, yeah, he's another one of my greatest teachers. I would have loved to wash his feet, and I learned that washing his feet was watching him and listening to him in light code through this system. Alchemos is one that's over there. I met him through I believe at the beginning of HOTC, but also through London McLovin. I can't really pinpoint, but I've watched a lot of his bills about ancient giants and stuff, and that were their bodies turned into mountains, and how the mountains are formed, and the crystals in the mountains are what call it, I can't think of it right now because my mind and my topic is still on what we're talking about. So I'm gonna stop that for a minute. I just wanted to introduce them, those that I know. All right, let's go, Mr. Smith. That was long
Well,
drawn
I
out.
mean,
Thank you for listening.
I think this war is basically, it on many levels you can consider what may be happening. I mean, there's a spiritual realm, there's a natural earthly realm which we live in, and then there's just the mentality that is driven by either whatever purpose is a war, which is usually money. It's one reason why it wars. Attention or divergence or things that are happening on a major scale to overshadow or cloak something that happens is also happening when we fight wars. Being that it's all profitable when there's war anyway, so you can just sort of factor that into the fact that we're at war now. But I for one think that we there's a lot of lives being lost. Me myself, I'd rather have peace. You know what I'm saying? I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I really think that we really want that this may not be a good decision for America. I mean, we're in a place in our lives where we've just had an epidemic, a pandemic. We're our educational systems are down. not in a good way. Basically, what I want to say is that we have a lot of problems that need to be dealt with at home, but things like this, especially a war in the Middle East, that'll draw it a long time. Once you make enemies like that, it tends not to change. You know, peace doesn't come easily out with some situation that just sort of totally dominate the circumstance and the people that are left there. So I mean, I'm not sure of which direction this will actually go in. I think I for one think this isn't a good idea. You know what I mean? They haven't attacked us. I think there should have been at least a lot more talking. Like you say, they've had meetings in Notre Dame and places like that. But what is it? What right does America have to step in and say, well, you can't be at war with Israel? I mean, I think the only thing that basically is that there's a big size differential.
Okay.
And it's mostly based on religion. You know what I mean? As far as okay, then
Mm-hmm.
you got Muslims versus Jews. Jews have always been persecuted. Jews have been persecuted since the beginning of time,
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything that was considered Jewish. But when we consider our own people, what are we getting America into? I mean, Iran has ties with Russia. Russia has ties with China. Now, what do they decide they want to jump on us? And they all say, well, because you get involved in this war, we're gonna implement trade embargoes. We're gonna, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna threaten y'all from by putting boats out in the on the coastlines of America. They may even fly jets over our country, which would probably be a very bad idea because we shoot them down. But I just really think that there should have been a little bit more patience when it came to this, as far as just jumping into the war with Iran. You know what I mean? Because obviously they're getting ready to send troops to Iran. They're getting ready to go from Iran and places like that, which are, in turn cause those people to hate us. Of course, Israel will be happy with us, but if you really want to just defend a place like that, why not bring it into your own? Like, let's say, well, buy Israel. Like, why not? Spend money on that. Let's go in and buy Israel, make it a part of United States territory. That'll keep it from being bombed by Iran. They can keep all they use traditions and all that type of stuff. I think that's one way to do that.
Okay.
Just to have an an empire state of mind. Like, well, instead of just coming and assisting you, I'm just gonna buy you out, and you're gonna be under my land. Under my rule, under my government. You know what I'm saying? That would end that instantly. There wouldn't be any more troubles with Iran in because they know the instant they attack, they got war. But that's just the way I think. You know what I mean? Of course, things aren't that simple and they don't work that way. But hey, why not? You know what I mean?
All right. That sound, that again, that's the way you think and feel about it now.
I
I
mean, I'm just saying. I know the Bible. The Bible speaks at times like this, but in my opinion, I don't think we're actually at that point of Armageddon. I don't think many of us in this time will actually live to see those days. Actually,
All
because
right.
there's a lot of Bible prophesies about that has to occur. You know what I mean? America ultimately falls and the world is destroyed. You know what I'm saying? But I can say maybe in 100 or so years, maybe that'll happen. You know what I
Okay.
mean? At that point now. And everybody, like I say, I mean, I think we haven't had time to heal and recover from the last. We have a lot of at home. And I'm just thinking from a political standpoint, like what a president that is basically just a businessman with a lot of money. What does he actually know about running the country and leading the country in and out of situations politically? It's saying that like anybody could do it. I could get up there and be president. You could get up there and be president. because it doesn't take much decision making. You just, you know, you it's brute force. We just go in and demand what we want. We don't get what we want, then we wage war. That's what I'm saying. But I mean, as far as what God's plan is, I know the Lord is gonna work it out. But we still have to take into account we do have a decision making ability. You know, we do have volition. We have decision making ability. So not all of that can just be placed on religion to say that this is God's will, because of course that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna get into the Bible and say, "Well, this the Bible said this will happen, so we're not doing anything wrong." But how can you see that way? You know what I mean?
All right. Now, based on what you said about scripture, the part that's happening right now, if you go to Matthew 24, this isn't even half of the sign of the end. It's just the beginning. It's the signs of the beginning. And this is just my thought and how I see it. First off, the wars again have been happening time and time and time again. The fact that they made it more accessible in the media is what based on what you choose to believe and not to believe, because um you like I said earlier, you've been walking around every day with no cares in the world, and the same instance as Israel was bombing and supposedly bombing up hospitals, killing children and killing people, all based on what their stance is in the Bible. It was okay. That was okay with everybody. Everybody was fine with that. Everybody lived their life, they're walking along, and the lives of those in Iran and everywhere else, which again are rumors of wars, was no, it was a no big deal. And now that the tables are turning, and it's now it's a problem. And America, United States, from every single president have always went in and supposedly intercepted in what they call wars to continue funding whatever it is that they're funding through spiritual wickedness in high places. So how much, again, how much of it is actually happening? We don't see Trump. We don't know who Trump is. All we see is this image of light on TV of this man saying this is what he's doing. A lot of these stars and beings in high places, some of them I truly I like to play the game. I like to play the game, but I truly don't believe that they exist. I believe that they're literally artificially generated images of light to help fuel the system of like this telephone, to fuel the system of me talking to you through YouTube, or for us to watch media, or for what for, and so because of my belief in scripture or the living word, in the physical form, in this paper, and what's written on my light code in my blood, when I take and decipher Matthew 24, and Jesus says that yeah, there's going to be wars happening and nations but don't be deceived. There's a reason why he says don't be deceived, because that's just part of the um let's see, part of the trick, part of the spell.
But see, being that we know the Bible prophesies of these things, right? Why are we so comfortable to allow these things to manifest? Like there's enough consciousness in the world based on any sort of religion or any sort of,
If you want to,
you know what I
wait a
mean,
minute, wipe your eye.
spirituality
Here, wipe your eye, right eye.
of
No,
any
yeah,
sort of spirituality.
you got a dried up tear. It could have stayed. That's all natural, but it's a dried up tear. Go ahead, wipe it one more time.
I mean, of any sort of like spirituality, you could think about it. Most people know the beginning and the end of the Bible. Like Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth. and then revelations as far as the world is going to end. There's going to be rumors of wars. How do you allow yourself to be, at least on some level, I would think, unconscious to the fact that you're playing into the role of this thing's happening? You can wake up, like you say, and realize these things are manifesting, and yet and still believe, being that it's written in front of you. You look out and see it, that these things are occurring. That, and you know what, things like it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? That's on a major level. These wars isn't a good idea because you're only proving that you're headed toward damnation.
Okay, now,
There's billions and billions of souls being lost. There's billions and billions of people dying. It's there's no end to this. You know what I
okay,
mean?
I'm cut you for a second. I want you to read the chat. Read the chat. Read what some of y'all saying, and then based on what you said, your question to yourself, respond to that. If first he says education is artificial intelligence. The second
How was
is, okay, you can skip that one because that was in the midst of part of when I think when I was talking. Look
the
at this one.
intention behind education is artificial intelligence. The intention, the method, the way that we're being taught, the things we're being taught, the purpose and intention behind the way the system works is artificial intelligence to make people less dependent on themselves and more dependent on society and the means of society.
But
But
what is
that
education?
doesn't that doesn't mean that it'll lead you to an artificial intelligence. Why? Because you become dependent on things. You become dependent on, in America, places like this and superpowers, you become dependent on television, you become dependent on your phone, you become dependent on just, worldly knowledge of anything. You think less and you do more, and you're very, very comfortable within a feeling as a majority that you're not outside of this in some weird individual, that you're not some
Right, son.
sore thumb. Is ultimately make you an outcast. But if you have the right education for the right intention, right purpose behind it, that power makes you freer. You can change things. You can look out into your future and plot so many, 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 many steps ahead of anything and have yourself in a position where you really want to be, where you really like to be, with that can solidify your and preserve you because you'll be living right. You know what I mean? Mentally you'll be right. Spiritually you'll be right because your actions will be right. But if the way society is, the way the system works, education leads to artificial intelligence, meaning that you think less and they do more. It's like neo-slavery isn't in some degree about a racial thing. It's about how many minds can I captivate? How many people can I put under this
Spell.
consciousness, right? That doesn't allow them to realize what they're doing or how they're doing it, and they just, you know what I mean? They become more like a product, an animal, or some sort of, you're really only there because only God knows why type situation. So, it's like, yeah, I mean, and wars is just something that diverts your attention from a lot. For one thing, God, for some people, because of the hype, because of the business side of it, because of the ego, you know what I mean, and the want to never see your nation fall, and then the emotional side, psychologically, you feel like you have a control factor, you have a power factor, you're maintaining your reputation in the world as being this big great place. You know what I mean? But I it's a lot going on. You know what I mean? This war is just one thing that also hide a lot of the problems that we have in America as people, especially minorities. the way that we're being treated, the way that the things that they're doing to us in this society, which is basically eliminating us, taking us away and further away from using our minds and thinking and doing the ways we should. Furthering, you know what I mean? Just no one talks about how women are being used to destroy the minority, the males and the minorities. No one's talking about how they there's lead and weave at women where that weave is causing cancer and all this. No one talks about how you're being used and experimented on. No one talks about anything that actually matters as far as the demographic of people, and that becomes a very mass thing that becomes very, very common and very, very dense and concentrated to a point of which when it does strike you, the high is so low that you really don't realize you're dead. Like you just don't. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So wars and things like that, it's a big deal, of course, but it doesn't solve any of the issues that you have at home. You still have these problems. There's something for you to think about, something for you to worry about when you, especially when it's a place that you know you can just pretty much go in there and have your way anyway. And that's
So,
gonna and it's money. You're gonna go over there. When they go over there and bond up, they're gonna go over there and steal. They're gonna come back with oil, they're gonna come back with all this type of stuff. People gonna talk about that. They're gonna have little knowledge of things, the higher consciousness, but and no one will actually be doing anything to make the situations better, either present time or long term. So what is it about? It's all a game. It's a
all right.
game.
All right. So some of y'all say it's on the product what it is, and that's the truth. Uh, why somebody got to tell a woman the chemicals of lead is in the perm when she have the ability to read the box and the label? A lot of stuff we wait a
She's
minute,
uneducated. She's
wait a minute,
uneducated.
wait, no, that's not true. The majority of women that perm their hair and get their hair perm and taken care of are those professional women that you like, those ones that done went to law school at Harvard and all that stuff. I'm just saying, the ones who wear the weave is the
They
very
they
wait,
they
no,
promote,
stop, don't do that.
but
I
it
listen,
doesn't feel. It doesn't.
wait, let me finish, please. Let me finish. A lot of the stuff that happens, we ask for it. That's first off. Second, you said no one talks about being experimented on and researched on. You have people like me that talk to people like you on a daily basis, and you'll be the same, have take the same stance as those when somebody is crying out and saying I'm being researched on. Oh, you paranoid. Oh, you this. Oh, you that. What part of the government do you work for? The educated part that you have, because you're very educated. You have a way with words. But back to the little things, like you said, nobody talks about the woman who walks into the hair store and looks at the box and looks at the ingredients, and the ingredient says all these poisons in it, and she gonna put it on her head anyway because it's gonna make her hair look good and it's gonna be straight, and she gonna be all appealing for all of those educated individuals that she have to talk to and convince that there is a war actually happening and going on while she on the news media with all her proper lingo and linguistics and spelling and stuff. Even me, like doing it right now. Why do I have to get on here and, like you asked, and tell who am I trying to convince? And for me, it's just a lot of this stuff, which is the truth. We ask for it. We ask for it. They don't force
But
us.
the basic thing is that you're gonna feel some type of way when you look good, which is gonna cause you to 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 hit what to act in a certain way and to do certain things, which is also gonna cause you to have another feeling because you're gonna acquire something, at least in your mind, at least if not physically, but emotionally, in a way that brings comfort, and you've already been conditioned to look at certain things within a certain perspective. So all that factors into in a major on a larger scale the fact that you're not even caring about yourself. long term. Why? Because what everyone else does, you do. You can educate, you can be educated, and you can say, well, education is false, school is a game, all that type of stuff. But it's what you do with the knowledge that you get. If you change your way of thinking, you'll change your actions.
Okay,
You know what
so
I'm saying? You start looking for ways to do better than to complain or to conform. You know what I mean? Which is basically what happens. But no one talks about let's start changing the way we think.
okay,
Let's start changing the way we breathe. Let's start changing the way we look at stuff. No one does that.
okay,
Let's
so
stop. Let's stop seeking for one thing to happen for everyone to do everything they want.
all right, so the
Of course,
women.
they never will. You know,
Why you trying to catch your breath? So the women that are educated, with the perm boxes. I just want to stay on the because you brought that up. You said that the women, nobody talks about the women who are dying, who put the perm on their hair, and right now, because I want to take and focus on that right there. So those people who put the perm on their hair and they can't wake up. They can't I'm saying all the professionals, all the entertainment industry, permed haired women, uh, all of the those up there at the White House in the government, no, it's down to the permed boxes, the boxes of perms, where people are lost and they cannot change their mentality or their educational, or the way they think based on the box of perm. Let's stay on that now. Let's stay on that. Everything that you say, let's break it all the way down into the perm box. The chemicals in the perm. Alchemos say mind wheels versus windmills. Son of y'all, the Bible talks about renewing of the mind. Of course, I mentioned that several times today. Son of y'all. So back to the perm box. So the women, the people that can't change the way they think based on a perm box. Go.
it's their feelings. It's about the way feelings have weight to them. If you, it's like water. If you pour water into a bag or something or into a bucket, it's heavy, and that's what what you have attained, and by your bits, which produce or induce certain feelings that preserve your way of thinking that you're comfortable with. You have to be willing to fight out of that situation. Of course, there's always going to be crime. There's always going to be wrong. There's always going to be people that dislike or don't like this. But the ultimate thing is the way that we live now. It is self-destructive to the point that it destroys our minds first. Okay, we damage our minds as means of discipline, as means of conforming, as means of comfort, as means of control, and which is very disrespectful to oneself, which ultimately will lead to destruction of what? The soul. So I mean, look at I mean, for some people they probably think if you step outside and look at what life is, that they're doing themselves a favor by going to hell. Because they feel well, ultimately I won't die. You know what I mean? But there's so much that happens that I've witnessed that people actually are destroying their souls. They're looking for one thing. They all, but then the smarter ones look for one person for to sacrifice for everything. Even though Jesus died for our sins, don't nobody really want to. Some of them really, and I ain't gonna say no nobody, but somewhere, somehow, some person in the position decided that they could manipulate the situation where won't nobody want to do anything but be comfortable in the game that they're playing. And this is something I witnessed. So wars and all that type of stuff, that's good to talk about because that's the mature thing to do, right? And I There's so much more happening. You know what I mean? We're really dealing with psychos, insane people in high places that are very intelligent, but have no heart. They're soulless. They have no heart. They have no mind. They have no concern for other than being liked or agreed with, and could care less what happens as long as they're not alone. In judgment, they're not alone in consequences. They're not alone when certain things transpire. They're dependent on what other people think and view of them. They don't really know what's right or wrong within themselves. And then their mindset, that's someone else that has a totally different perspective, keep in mind, of the way things are, but that's the condition they put others in. So that's also hiding what their flaws are and their comfort level, because it's a truth they speak, but it's a wrong they do. And wars and things like that out there in society is another way to hide that happening. If you're gonna wake up to spirituality and religion, you're gonna wake up to everything that happens. You're gonna look at all the little stuff that you never talk about growing up. All the little wicked little dealings that are in what I like to call the orange place. All the little unseen happenings and events that happen. You know what I mean? That actually affect you long term. It's like we're not living with time based people. It's like they get high, but they have no concept of time and where things are going. You know what I mean? And what is the purpose of meaning of living is to preserve life and continue. You're not gonna know everything. You're not gonna have control of everything all the time, but you can continue going and continue going and continue going.
Okay.
It won't be something.
All right. Well, let me ask you, listen to this scripture in this verse, and what does it mean to you when you hear what I'm about to read? Now, I'm reading from Matthew 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, meaning you're hearing about a war. You don't see a war. And rumors of wars, meaning look at all these rumors running you every day. So, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. I'm gonna read it one more time, and you break that down on what it means to you based on what you just said about
I
these
think I
wars.
think it's I think it's the battle, the ultimate battle is in the mind and in the spiritual realm. The hardest part about this life and the battle that when we know some things that really, really upset us, that it could all be about one person, like Christ. It could all have been about Christ. It is, right? That in some ways that we decide that there's no one person that should be the foundation, that should be that solid, that should be that purpose, that should be that individual that, depending on the respect we have as a group of people, or is it an individual for that one entity, determining whether or not we see a better future or not. That this world that we live in has got so far away from monarchical type things, but I mean monarchies, king or queen, but no, none of them live in that sort of state of mind. That's a representation of God in flesh. And then no matter whether it's in a high or low place, if you have that sort of respect for just one individual, you can have that same sort of respect for yourself. And you'll change the way that you think. You'll take on a king, you'll take on a royal state of mind. At least in as far as the way you are, as long as you haven't done certain things to acquire those attributes, you can preserve your life. Is about soul preservation. Wars and all that stuff can be good for physical confrontation can be good for the soul. Why? Because it induces things in your mind, a survival mode, a warrior in you, a purity comes with that. But as long as you only fighting wars for the fact of what an image amongst people. You know what I mean? For to do wrong and to be confused, to be somebody but no one. I guess in the sense of which you're smarter than others. One of the biggest things that actually drives people nowadays is their intelligence of being in some sort of adult like situation where they're a little bit more clever than the other individual, not considering right and wrong when they do what they do. Setting one another up, placing each other in bad situations. What that in which you lose, you haven't changed the way that wars and things like that will never go nowhere. There's always gonna be that. What is the purpose behind it in the larger in the grander scheme of things? Is what I'm talking about.
It,
You know what I mean?
that's what you talking about now. That's what you talking about now. Okay.
I mean, of
Okay.
course, that's what I'm saying.
That's not what you were saying at the beginning, but I like the way you brought it back, brought it on in. Now, I'm paying attention, watching the chat. Son of y'all, this is one of the statements that he made years ago that triggered some things in me and helped me along the way. And he said, "You the only one thinking all your life. You the only one telling yourself that all this stuff. You're the only one telling yourself that Abigail exists. You're the only one telling yourself that the world is in war, at war. You're the only one telling yourself everything that you're thinking and hearing. You are the creator. You are the living word. You are the one that activating everything that you see right now." That's how I perceive that statement that he made so many years ago. And again, if one of those statements that have helped me along the way. Not that anything is perfected, of course, but it's a foundation for me. What does that statement mean to you? To see it, well, it don't have to mean anything at all. But can you break that down? Realize that you're the only one thinking all your life.
There's one mind and one thought. That goes back to where we what he mentioned about education being what was he said? I mean, it's artificial intelligence that no one produces their own thought. There's and thoughtlessness leads to heartlessness, and heartlessness leads to soullessness. So there'll be ultimately a bunch of zombies or just one big mass distinction. You know what I mean?
You say a bunch of zombies. You believe in zombies?
Yeah, but of course,
See, there's certain things I just don't believe in. It's certain things I've never
I'm
seen,
saying
and
that.
there's certain
I
things
mean,
I've. Okay, do you
by
believe in
zombies, I mean
ghosts?
that your mind. Think about it. If you're not free, a zombie is basically a slave, right? Something without his own free
I
will.
don't know. I've never
It
seen
only
a
desire.
zombie. I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's use the concept that I'm using. It's a metaphorical concept, right? That you're mindless. Your only drive is to do something, which is probably get high, look good, eat food, have sex, and be liked or disliked by it, regardless of whatever way you're ending up or whatever means to end you're using, which ultimately come back to you and you have to deal with that. So
So you a
in that point in
zombie?
time, I'm not saying I'm a zombie.
You said metaphorically, and I'm listening to you talk about your
I
experience.
said metaphorically. I'm just saying based on what I see in society. I'm not saying I'm the zombie. Where did you get that?
Because I've never seen a zombie, so I'm trying to figure out what a zombie is. And you used a metaphor.
You don't know what a zombie is, Abigail. You know what a
I've
zombie is.
seen zombies, what they say a zombie is, but I've never seen one in real life. Okay, have you ever seen a ghost?
Yeah, I think I
See,
have.
I've never seen a ghost. I've never seen zombies. I've a lot of the things that people have seen, I haven't seen. But just because you brought that up, I just wanted to see what you meant by it because it was funny. It was funny, and your
All right, Abigail.
metaphorically
Hey,
speaking.
my phone's about to die. So if I just kind of like, you know what I mean, I got like 1%. But
You
to everyone on this live, it was nice talking to y'all. It was. I mean, honestly, I can screenshot it, y'all, and
You
show
ain't
y'all,
got
but
to
my phone's about to
screenshot it.
die.
You ain't got to screenshot it because earlier when you was questioning me talking about why my phone wasn't charged, what was the problem with my phone not being charged? That's why I'm laughing. That is exactly why I'm laughing. Are you
I mean,
upset? Are you gonna talk to me
to all
later?
y'all, to all y'all out there, you might not know Abigail's the love of my life, so she kind of give me a hard time, and she wasn't gonna tell y'all that, but I'm telling y'all. Okay, so y'all have a good evening. I got to get off here and charge my phone up. Abigail, I'll talk to you later.
It was wait, don't go just yet, y'all. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your presence and coming on here with me and bearing me because you don't have to. You don't have to hit that link at all. And hopefully I will talk to you later. You know how we do each other. I might call and you will not answer. But you have a great night, and I'm gonna stay in just a little bit longer and go through talking to son of y'all if he decides to stay. Greater light.
All right, greater light, y'all.
Sonny, y'all, it was good seeing you here. And I be what they call bushwatching over because I like to listen to you without interjecting into your chats because I learn a lot from you. I learn so much from you that when you could go to church and you could sit. This is just metaphorically speaking. You go and you go into a class and you really like that teacher, so you don't interrupt and disrupt and gotta have so much to say. You actually that's a class that you like to attend. Well, that's what has happened when I'm there and I come through and you're live I'm just there. I'm just there listening. I don't have to say and put no words in because I'm actually learning something. It's part of my foundation. It's part of my foundation. That's all. It's not that I do. Anyways, Greater Light, Alchemos 33, Greater Light, Emily, Emily, Greater Light, Kansas Owens, Kansas Owens, that Owens name, there's a Owens lady somewhere. I don't know if you related to Candace, but Candace run the community, I guess, the YouTube streets. They trying to figure something out. Greater Light.